Hello, my name's Gillian Bencke and I'm one of the artists in the Wangaratta Contemporary Textile Award this year, 2021. So my piece in this show is called Cope. A cope is another word for cape, and if you look at it, the semicircular shape of it, you can see why it's called that. So this piece is inspired by an old liturgical garment called cope that is often stitched with religious stories and things like that. So I wanted to take that concept and have a little play with that in a modern, with modern concepts and modern ideas. So the cope is a garment that has not changed its shape for hundreds of years, which I thought was such an amazing idea that something could serve a purpose in that shape for such a long time. It's so simple yet so effective in what it does for the wearer. So it used to be highly embroidered with stories of Christ. The investment of time that people put into something like that I thought was such a beautiful thing. And then I decided that if I were to make one, what would those stories be, and how would I incorporate my life or aspects of my life into something that comes from such an old shape and form. When I start a work like this one, I don't really have a plan. I don't really know exactly what it's going to look like. I have little sketches sometimes of things that might come into a piece, but I don't draw the whole plan of the work and then sit down and start doing it. So really I start somewhere and I gather ideas as I go. So with this one here, I started with that central piece that is the sort of the shield shape, let's call it, which is the remnant of the hood that these garments would have a long time ago in sort of medieval times would have had a hood on them. That hood became less and less useful, and then it became just the remains of it just stayed as a shape, as a design. And so I incorporated that idea into my work as well. So I started with the little central beast. Now he's got all of the texture and detail that I really laboured over initially as I started this piece. So lots of beads, lots of different materials. I think that's the thing in my work that I focus on a lot, is how I can get tactile texture into my work. I know that you all can't go up and touch this work, but it is something that is a big part of how I create my work, is how it feels. It's just the nature of textiles, and I think a lot of people are drawn to those things themselves in textiles, how they feel, the clothes they wear, what they feel like, not just on your body but in your hand when you first touch them. So in other little details of my work, I've embroidered in the top of the cope there, so up the top of the cope, which would then, if you're wearing it, it would hang down the front. It is little symbols of power. We have the drugs, the weapons, the money, the privilege, and the kind of surveillance and travel, and the online engagement that we have with each other in a sort of modern world. And then in the body of the cope, just all the little details that I've stitched in there that I have made look like rubbish. So I wanted to stitch in the little things that I use every day, that maybe you use every day as well, the things that are necessary to our lives, the things that maybe not so necessary but we still use and need and want. So I wanted those to just be falling away from the center of the cope, as though they have been dropped. So they're falling onto the ground, collecting kind of at the edge of this cope, creating, a beautiful sort of spread of the things that I use in my life. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that sort of gives a little bit of an overview of the work that I have there in Wangaratta Art Gallery. Thank you so much.